Hi, I'm Stephanie. I'm a spiritual teacher, I'm a writer, I'm an artist, a published author. I wrote the book Higher Self Connection, A Path to Self Realization. There it is. Um, and I was supposed to be on at 1 o'clock, but it was a little chaotic this morning. I don't know if any of you guys are noticing that the energy is really chaotic, and I can feel everything and nothing at the same time. It feels like so super fun, super fun. But today I'm going to talk about when you are wanting financial abundance, but all that's showing up is an abundance of lack. I don't know. I know a lot of people can relate to this. And it's something that I've really struggled with on my journey. And so I hope that this brings you clarity and gives you kind of an energetic aha that you have been needing. And again, if you have questions, let me know. I wrote this with the help of the higher self, obviously, and so I am looking at notes, just so you know, so I don't get lost. But let's get started. Um, so let's just start with the basics, okay? You are mostly energy. Um, we have a body and all that entails, but scientists have proven that when you um, have an intention or expectation on something that you're observing, that it will shift to meet that expectation. That has been proven by scientists. In case you need that kind of validation. I'm not somebody that needs that kind of validation, but I know a lot of people that do, and that's okay. So you're energetically influencing what is unfolding in your life, and it's important to keep that in mind. Um, it's all responding to you, okay? You're the only one that's controlling what shows up in your life. It's just responding to you and your energy and what you're putting out there. And the concept of having a high frequency has been taken out of context in so many different circles in the spiritual realm. People think that you just have to have a high vibe, feel good, kick it up there and get all giddy, and that things are going to work out for you. And that's not been my experience. My experience is that the more I let go of the things that are limiting me, the higher my frequency naturally raises, and then the more things that I want are being drawn in. But nonetheless, it is all responding to you. But what you am I talking about? Because there's the little you that's made up of all the beliefs that your parents held, that your grandparents held, that your ancestors held, the collective consciousness and what society believes to be true. It's made up of your wounds and the parts of you that feel unworthy. That's what your lower self is made up of. And that part of you that maybe feels like you're not good enough, it's the part of you that feels like you're desperately wanting approval and validation. It's also the aspect that wants you to be a hero or to be saved. Um, it's the one that thinks that if I get something out there, I'm going to feel better in here. And it's the aspect of you that feels separate from everything. Feels like I have to get what I want from out there. Okay, that's the lower self. But there's also the spirit. You have a spirit, and the spirit is the energetic version of you. The spirit is the broader sense of who you are. That version of you with all of those wounds is your personality. It's the part of you that you'll leave behind when you shift into the after, okay? Whether we won't get into that. But that's the part of you that dies with your body. The part of you that lives on forever is your spirit. It's the higher self. It's that part of you that is infinite intelligence. It's the part of you that's communicating with the universe. It's the part of you that knows the path of least resistance. It's that larger part of you. And none of those, it doesn't have any of those wounds. It doesn't have any of those limitations. It's the source of all you want. That part of you is the source of all you want. Um, that is you in your truest form. So when you're on the path of awakening, you're developing your identity with spirit by disidentifying with all that you thought about yourself to be. Everything that you believed you were gets proven false, and you eventually discover that you're proving that you're identifying more with the eternalness, the beingness, the all that isness. Okay? That's what happens when you start on a spiritual awakening. And sometimes, most times, every time could be, not sure. In my experience, everything that you move through when you start on that awakening journey is challenging, and it's there to help you do just that, to disidentify with this false sense of who you are. Okay? So, of course, it's uncomfortable because it makes you question everything you believe to be true. And you go through many ego deaths, but I believe that when people have a midlife crisis, this is what it is actually a waking up. But you're disidentifying with who you thought you were, and in the process, you're starting to understand who you truly are. And money is an important lesson and is always challenging for so many because it holds so many gifts in the lessons it brings. So it's helping you to, again, discover who you truly are and the power that you hold energetically. Okay, this is key. And everybody's like, I'm getting off script. How? But how do you get money then? How do you do? And that is always your ego asking that question, because your spirit knows. So just pay attention to that. I don't know who needed to hear that. Okay, so the lower self is used to taking action. It's spending its time. It's punching a clock. It's taking an action, and then it gets money. It's like the Pavlov experience, where you hit the bell, you get the treat. You hit the bell, you get the treat. The same is true for the ego and money. You get the job, you put in your time, you get the money. That's how it works for the ego or the lower self. And if you ask anyone, literally walking around on the street, they will tell you that's how you get money. Or you sell things, or you invest, whatever. There's an action, and then you get money. And when you're on a spiritual path, those actions might quit working. They did for me. And I know a lot of spiritual teachers that have to go through this type of initiation. So those actions might quit working, and everything you know to do to get money stops working. And then you're left feeling drained. And it feels like you're spinning your wheels, you're hitting a wall, like just over and over and over again, or you're putting a lot of effort in and you're not hardly getting anything in return. And like things just stop working. And maybe that might happen, and then all of a sudden that sets you on an awakening path. That could happen that way too. But the reason is to help you align to the larger part of you by way of evaluating everything that you believe about money and receiving and allowing. Okay? So you might be saying with your words, I want more money, but your energy is putting up a shield and blocking it. And this causes so much frustration and depression. You feel like something's wrong with you. You feel like the universe is against you. You feel like everyone's against you. You feel like almost like a victim mentality. I've really struggled with that, feeling like the world is against me. Which, when you get down that path, you it's only doing more harm. So So when you notice that your flow is starting to trickle instead of a rapid rush of water, metaphorical, it's important to remind yourself that nothing has gone wrong. And it's really hard to tell yourself that at that point. But it is important to remind yourself nothing's gone wrong. Everything's always working out for me. And I know this is too. I just don't see how. Because if you can remind yourself of that as often as you need to, minute by minute, breath by breath, sometimes what you're doing is soothing that kind of inner child, because that's really the version of us that feels scared, that feels like they've done something wrong. So continue to remind yourself, like, even this is working out in my highest good. I just don't know how, but I trust that I'll find the answers. And then it's important to work with your higher self to understand why you're pinching off your flow. Because there, again, is no outside force pinching it off. There is nothing is against you, unless you believe that you are not in control of your experience. And if that's the case, this message probably isn't for you, or maybe you're not ready for it yet. But you get to evaluate your beliefs and decide if it serves your highest good or not. In my case, it helps me to know that nobody's against me. I'm the one that's in charge. I'm the most powerful energy in my field. And I'm the only one capable of figuring this out. It kind of makes me feel empowered to know that nobody else has control over me. I do. I have control. And so if you have the belief that this is being done to you, then evaluate that belief and see if it's serving your highest good, and if there's a way that you can pivot that to a more empowering perspective. But when you're working with the higher self, you really do have to take responsibility for your life when you're working with the higher self. It's important to remember that much of what's affecting you energetically is unconscious. You don't know that you're doing it. You have no idea that you're blocking yourself. And this situation is here to help you become conscious of how you're unconsciously blocking yourself, so that you can let go of what's not serving you, and it won't affect you energetically and what you're calling in and what's showing up in your life. And then by way of that, it helps you to allow more of the true self, which is the higher frequency, to come forward, the more authentic version of you, to lead instead of the wounded, limited version of you. And again, there are 4 different levels that blocks can affect you. And I always say deal with the easiest first. A lot of times when people do this work, they think that if they go in and do a Beyond Quantum Healing session, it will remove all of them. I've not known anybody to have that experience. We remove quite a few, but there's a lot of layers to you, and it takes time to move through them. And remember that you've taken your whole life till now to practice who you are right now. So it's going to take you some time, and be gentle with yourself, to practice being the fullest version of you. It's going to take some time, and actually it's quite it can be quite challenging because this is so practiced and natural. So take your time. So the 4 levels that these limits will affect you on are conscious, subconscious, and energetic, and ancestral. Okay? And again, working with the easiest one first would be consciously. That would be, what do you believe to be true about money? This is your limiting beliefs. This is the beliefs that you've inherited from your parents. What have you always heard? Is money the root of all evil? And we've heard a lot of these before. Do you have to work hard to get money? Do you believe that you have to punch a clock? Do you believe that you have to exchange your time? Do you believe that What do you believe? And is it possible for you to believe something different? Is it possible for you to believe that I don't have to put in a bunch of hours. I know that there are people out there that make a large amount of money, and they do it in a way that makes them feel good about themselves. And so really question the beliefs that you have about money. And I'm telling you, this sounds so silly. It sounds so silly that most people don't do it. And I'm telling you, I do it every day. And this is the most powerful thing you can do for yourself. I don't have anything against like energy healers, but I'm telling you that you have the access to shift your own energy without going to get Reiki or anything like that. Like, you have the power to do it. As soon as you can acknowledge to yourself, like, oh wait, I'm running this belief that I have to work hard to get money. And because of that, I'm subconsciously pushing myself to work even harder. And I didn't realize I was doing that. And oh my gosh. And like, then you get to have compassion for yourself because you found that you're subconsciously taking an action that does not serve what your spirit is trying to help you understand to be true. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Once you realize that you're subconsciously limiting yourself, then you can have grace and compassion, forgiveness. I'm so sorry. It's okay. Ho'oponopono, whatever that is. But just have grace and compassion with yourself. Like, I didn't realize I was holding myself back in that way. And that's really interesting. And I'm not going to do that anymore. And once you become conscious of it, it doesn't have a hold on you anymore. It won't control you anymore. And in the period that I've had gone without, where I've struggled without abundance of money, there have been so many layers that I've gone through of like, oh, I didn't realize that I'm actually being a rebellious teenager in some way, or I didn't realize that I'm, there have been so many realizations and lessons around money. So you can start to find your subconscious blocks by looking at what you're consciously believing to be true, the words that you speak. How do you speak about money in your life? How do you speak about not having enough money? The words that you say, I want you to hear this. This is so important. The words that you say are being recorded by your subconscious mind. And then your subconscious mind goes, yes, master. Okay. And it follows your direction. So if you're constantly saying things like, I can't afford it, I don't have enough, I'm not sure, I don't know, that when you say I don't know, it's recorded by your subconscious mind, and that's perpetuating that in your experience. If you can watch the way that you speak, the words that you use, you can really shift your life. And I mean that to be true. I hope you practice it. Because everything that like, if you're in traffic and you're like telling somebody that they're stupid or they're this or they're that and you have road rage, your subconscious mind thinks that you're talking about it. It doesn't recognize there's anybody else out there. Play with that one. It's really, really important. Shift your language to more empowering talk. And if you have kids, your kids are going to be like, you're weird, or whatever they say these days. They're not, just get over it. Just start being weird. But shift the way that you're speaking. Shift the way that, like, if you see something and you want it, don't say something like, oh, I can't afford it, or I don't have enough money for that, or what, or I'm trying to think. I've really trained myself now, so it's hard for me to get into that, that not so helpful speech. But shift to things like, I'm looking forward to being able to afford that. Oh, since I want it, I know that there's a possibility for me to get it. So I'm really excited to figure that out. Something like that. And play with it, but become conscious of it is the most important thing. Watch what you say, because it comes true. Okay? I kind of went off on a tangent there. Yeah, and then have compassion, because recognizing that you've been doing something subconsciously, and then blaming yourself for it is just a waste of energy, and it kind of puts you in the wrong field, the wrong you're putting your train on the wrong track kind of thing. And also pay attention to the fact that everyone else is walking around unconscious too. So when they do something that offends you or upsets you or triggers you, it's only because they're unconscious. And like, if you can have compassion and grace for yourself, you can have compassion and grace for other people when they're unconscious too. And you would want them to have compassion and grace for you if you've acted unconsciously. So yada yada, that was a whole sidestep. And I know I'm over time. Angie told me it was okay last time, so I'm going to just relax and keep going. Okay, so then when we get into energetically, what's affecting you? There are so many reasons that you could be pinching this off financially. For me, a big reason was because I was being called to stay where I am, to stay put. It was limiting my travel. It was limiting my ability to move. And some big things came up in my life that I had to be here for. So oftentimes there are things going on behind the scenes that you don't even know are coming. And we blame ourselves as if we've done this on purpose. You know, we don't. We have to trust the timing of our life. We have to trust the flow of our life. So I'm grateful that I didn't have money at the time to leave when there was about to be a period when my family needed me greatly. So it could be that you're in a relationship that's not aligned to where it is you're being called to go. And so your limit of finances is helping you to discover deeper truths about what's going on in your life. And when we think about money, I also want you to think in terms of freedom. Freedom is the feeling you get when you have money. And when you practice the feeling of freedom, when you think about practicing the feeling of freedom, it means the freedom to go and do whatever you want, whenever you want, regardless of the cost. And if you're around people that are not cultivating your sense of freedom with you, it can be very draining, and it can cause you to pinch yourself off. So be aware of how much freedom is this household perpetuating. Do we perpetuate an energy of freedom in this household? Or do we perpetuate a energy of poverty, of victimhood, of struggle, of restriction? Also, the energy of money is stability. Do I feel stable in this household with these people around me? Do I feel stable? Really look at that, because a lot of times the money is the symptom to something that's deeper. Also, security, the feeling of security. We get security, it feels like, from money. And so practicing, well, where do I get security from? How do can I feel secure without having the money? Is it possible for me to cultivate a feeling of security? Really paying attention to those things. And I'm going to touch on that again here in a minute. But the way I work to build awareness in myself is every single morning. I'm devoted to myself. Every single morning I get up and I practice. I practice writing what I feel. And I got to tell you, especially where money's involved, a lot of times it's fear. That seems to be the first emotion that comes up. And I sit with that and I let it be there. I allow the feeling of fear to be there. And then I question it and I wonder, well, where did that come from? Why do I feel that way? Is what I'm feeling true? Who told me that? How did this start? And I just allow myself to write it all down. And I kind of dissect it. I kind of just look at it and dissect it. And this is also kind of soothing my nervous system. Because if you get up, and this was kind of why I took my time today, because I got up and there was this heavy energy that I could not shake, and I wanted to cry, and I let myself if I need to. But allowing that to be there and calming your nervous system down, reminding yourself that you're in the present moment right now and everything's okay. I can be here right now. This is okay. It's not ideal. It's not what I want. But I can be here right now, and right now I'm okay. And then I evaluate, like, is it true? Is this fear true? And this is the thing. I only deal in facts when it comes to fear. I don't deal in what ifs. So if I get a what if, I fling it right out of my head. I just fling it right out. I don't deal in what ifs. I deal in what is, period. I only deal in what is happening right now, not what if. Because what if is a misuse of your imagination. Your imagination is used to call in and create, envision what it is that you want. But our worry takes over. So I don't deal with that, and I trust that I'll have the answer when that time comes. I try not to bypass it. I try to let myself feel it, and I soothe myself out of it, and then I try to figure out where it's coming from. Is it true? Again, if it's not true, then I let go of it, because the higher self only deals in truth. The ego is the one that kind of lies all the time. So I debunk what's coming up. And then I start practicing what I'm learning, that money is this energy of freedom, stability, security, those feelings. And it's not tied to action, unless you believe that. And if you believe that, that's okay. You have to honor what you believe. But my reality is showing me that that's not true. Because the more I take action, the harder it is. So you have to figure out what your reality is showing you. I trust the timing of my flow. I trust that I'm always provided for. And I can say that because I've been in a million different situations that have been really super hard, but it always works out. I've got through every one of them. So I know everything's always working out for me. So I'm being called to focus more on how I can contribute to the highest good of all, rather than make that look like a job. I'm just being called to contribute, rather than turning it into a business or saying I'm going to charge this much for it. And I trust that the more that I follow that guidance, the more I will receive, and it's kind of the giving and the receiving exchange. It's important to pay attention to what you believe, though, and honor that. So the ego thinks, I think we already did that. The ego thinks that you have to work for a certain amount of hours or days, and then eventually a check will get sent to you. The ego thinks very linear in terms of time, and the higher self, timing is not an issue. Okay, it's as soon as you have the frequency, as soon as the frequency is a match, the miracle happens. And remembering that time is not linear. Anything can happen anytime. And I'm so excited for good things to happen. I'm so excited for unexpected good things to happen, because unexpected bad things happen all the time. So I know unexpected things can happen, and I'm so excited for unexpected good things to happen. So just keep that in mind. Time's not linear, but it is to the ego. The ego's like, oh my God, this is when that's due, and I don't have this, and I'm going to need that, and then what, and what if, and all of that. So keep that in mind. But a lot of the work is aligning to the source of what it is that you're wanting. And again, I am the source of what I'm wanting, and you are the source for what you're wanting. And keep in mind that money equals the feeling of freedom. So consistently practice what freedom feels like. What does that feel like to you? Also, money is the feeling of stability and the feeling of security, and practicing those things. How does that feel? What would that feel like? Because a lot of times we're so used to just surviving that we don't even know what that feels like. So really get curious and practice it, because the more that you practice that, the more unconditional you are in it. Meaning, the more you practice the feelings, the more you experience the unconditionalness of those feelings. And that's the energetic frequency I was talking about in the beginning, okay? So the energetic frequency of abundance and prosperity is feeling it unconditionally, not needing it to be there to feel it, recognizing that you already have it in here. You can feel that right now if you concentrate on it. And then once you are practicing that and mastering that over the amount of limited belief we have, and I think it's more of a like ratio, like most of the time I'm feeling free. Sometimes, sometimes I'm restricted. But once you start really practicing that and you feel that the majority of the time, then that's when the law of attraction kicks in. That's when you are a match to what it is that you're wanting, and that's when it pops in. I hope that hit, because that is often the purpose of why you're going through what you're going through and why you're pinching it off, is so that you can realize how powerful you are, that you can use this energy to attract, become a match to whatever it is that you're wanting out there, but you got to find it in here first. So I hope that helped. Hope that clarifies, makes sense to some people. And if it doesn't, please reach out to me if you want help clearing any of these levels, conscious, subconscious, energetic, or ancestral. I do work with people on that. And I'll put my link in the description of how you can contact me, or you can just send me a direct message. Thank you for being here. I see all of your energy on the comments. I see them now. And I love you all. I hope you have an amazing day, and life is limitless with the higher self connection. Have a good day.